All right, welcome back to the worst podcast in the world.
Hey, that's not very nice.
Whatever, who cares? You act like I just insulted you or something.
Yeah.
Just run with it. It's fine.
Okay.
We are going to have a therapist on tonight, if she can get her computer working. But we'll introduce her in a few minutes. Yeah, hopefully this should be interesting. I had a lot of interesting messages. Well, a lot of long messages. I didn't read any of them, but they're probably interesting.
We got a lot of long ones. And I got some that were super personal, very specific, and really just downers that I don't think people want to hear.
Oh, let's start with those. They're probably the best. Probably the best.
It's just so sad.
I like hearing that kind of shit.
Oh my God.
What? No? Alright. This is actually going to be the last podcast for probably 2 to 3 weeks, so catch up while you can. We're in the process of finding a new studio. So, yeah, enjoy it. I got a question for you because I started to think about your whole getting raped thing you got going on over there. Which I think we should probably talk to the therapist about. I think maybe that needs some therapeutic interjection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least you're not disagreeing with me. So, hypothetically, can't get away from this rape thing. Because my mind was so blown by what you said. But hypothetically speaking, let's just say, and this probably never happens, but maybe it happens sometimes. You get raped. You can't see what he looks like, but he got a killer body, so you're into it. You are into it. You were like, yeah, rape the fuck out of me. Complete stranger. Whatever. All right, it's over. You go about your business.
Okay. I don't report it.
Well, this is where I'm going with it.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't even going to go with the reporting thing because I figured if you liked it, you weren't going to report it. But let's start there. Do you report it?
I don't know. I've never thought about that.
God. Oh my God.
I haven't thought that far.
Well, we're going to think about it right now. I want you to think about it. I need some answers. We can go back to that one. This is where my mind was going. Are you worried about STDs and pregnancy?
I'm not worried about pregnancy now.
Oh, you got them things tied up?
I guess you could say.
Your fallopian tubes is what I was talking about.
I know what fallopian tubes are.
Okay, so what about STDs? Do you go straight to the doctor or straight to the hospital and get tested?
I feel like, yeah. And I feel like I would still report it because even though I liked it, maybe other people wouldn't, and he'd probably strike again. So maybe I should put a stop
I like
to
where
it.
your head is at. I'm sure women everywhere appreciate that.
Good. Okay.
Okay. All right, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Other than, oh, did you know that people that ride horses have to clean their penises? I was subjected to this week, so I have to share this.
What do you mean?
They have to clean their penises. Apparently, they have to make the penis come out and clean it. Otherwise, it gets these things called beans. Do you want to know? I didn't want to know. Do you want to know?
I want to know whatever you have to say.
I don't want to talk about it. It's disgusting.
I want to know now.
I don't know the exact terminology. I was told it was called they get beans. And I guess it's dead or dried skin on their dick that has to be cleaned off. And people do this for a living.
Oh my God. I would not want to do that.
They also jerk off horses for a living.
For what? Like breeding?
I certainly hope it's for breeding.
I feel like people would like try to sell it like to weirdos and people would buy it.
What are you going to do with a fucking horse nut?
I don't know. There's some weird people in the world.
It's nasty. Horses probably come like a gallon too. Motherfuckers is big as shit.
I wonder how long it takes them.
To jerk
Like,
them
do they
off?
come fast? Yeah.
I actually didn't want to know that, but now I do.
I feel like it'd be like pretty quick. I feel like animals are pretty quick.
I don't know. I've never fucked an animal.
I mean, I watch a lot of like animal shows.
I thought you were going to say animal porn. I was about to be like, bitch, what?
Like birds are so quick. Oh my God. Birds are quick like about everything.
I had some girl message me and was like, yeah, my first job was jerking horses off. I said, all I could say was, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, I worked at a grocery store for my first job. There was no horses. I actually didn't have to jerk anybody off. So I can't imagine having to jerk off a fucking horse for a living. She was like, it's cool. It paid well. I was like, ooh, all right.
Like, how do you do
Like,
that?
I know. I was like, how well? Because I was interested too. I was like, I'll jerk a horse off. Give me a grand
Oh
a
my
nut.
God, you would do it?
No, yeah, for $1,000 a nut, I'd jerk a horse off. Fuck it.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The money has to be right.
I just have this visual.
Was it like this?
Oh my God.
Yes.
You could do two at once and you can make like double your money.
Oh, fuck yeah. Like $2,000 at a time. Bop, 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 bop.
Oh my God.
There was something else I wanted to talk about too, but I can't fucking remember. It was just on the tip of my tongue. You put circumcised in here. What does that mean?
Oh,
Your rapist has to be circumcised or it's not going to be pleasurable?
someone, and I'm pretty sure we've talked about it on here before. Um, but someone just asked like if like what the difference is or if there's a preference, like what people like and don't like and whatever. But I thought we talked about it, didn't we, or no?
Oh, I'm sure we've talked about that. It's always a big topic. People always, because I would say probably half the people that follow me have uncircumcised dicks because they're in, apparently circumcising dicks is only a thing in the States.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
I mean,
most
that is
Europeans
surprising.
are uncircumcised.
Huh.
Who? Yo, you ever been making a fucking sex video and then like everything's going good and then bam, out of nowhere it gets fucked up?
What? I missed that. I can't understand.
You can't understand me?
No, well, I understood that. I got that.
Has that ever happened to you?
What did you say?
I said, have you ever been making a sex tape and then something fucks up and it ruins the whole thing?
And then what?
It ruins the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's happened to you?
I mean, kind of, or more so just like something like funny happens or something.
Yeah,
I would.
but
It's
funny
more like
fucks it up.
that.
It happened to me over the fucking weekend. I was fucking with this chick, and let's just say she jerked me off into a dog bowl. Let's say it was so much more filthy than that, but let's just say a dog bowl. Something she's done many times, and I'm videotaping this shit, and she goes to drink it. Something she's done many times. So this nut drip in her fucking mouth. And then she gags, like, not a good gag, like I got a dick in my throat, like about to throw up.
Oh my God.
I busted out fucking laughing and ruined the whole fucking thing. I was dying. And nothing like that ever happened to you?
What?
So nothing like that ever happened to you?
No,
You're the
not
worst.
that I can think of.
Clean your fucking ears out, man. God damn.
Oh my God, that's not the problem.
All right. Let's bring the therapist in because whatever's going on here is clearly not working. All right. So let me have you introduce yourself. For anybody that's listening, I've literally only had DM conversations with this young lady. So this is really like a first conversation for all of us. Hopefully this goes well. Can you hear me? I don't think she can hear me.
Oh no.
I can hear you a little bit. I don't know why the sound quality keeps coming out. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. You sound like a doctor.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So, quick clarification. No, as a therapist, I am not a doctor. I have a master's degree.
Damn it. I was hoping you could prescribe me some shit.
No, I can diagnose you and your issues.
Well, that's no
but
fun.
I cannot prescribe you shit.
We don't use our names on here. I don't know if you want your name to be put out there or not. So I'll address you as the therapist, or however you want. How would you prefer we address you?
You can call me the therapist if you want to call me the therapist, or you can call me by my name. I really don't have a preference.
All right, well, I prefer to call you by your name, Tiffany.
Okay. All right. Yes. You can do that.
So why don't you give us a little bit of background? Like, what kind of therapist are you?
So I am a couples and family therapist. So mostly in my own private practice, I work with couples and kind of see them. And I actually do a lot of sex therapy in my practice for couples, which is so funny because a lot of the times I'll get individuals that call me asking for sex therapy. And I always have to say, nope, I don't do that for individual people as often. I usually only do that for when there's a couple. But I feel like that clarification needs to be drawn with people sometimes.
I'm so curious.
Is there anything else that you want to know specifically?
Well, I'm so curious. Like, how does
Curious.
sex therapy with couples go? Like, do you like guide his penis into her? And you're like, hit
Yeah.
right here. Oh, that's her butthole. Like, how does that work? She's like, what the fuck?
I'm sorry. Your sound is cutting out, so I don't know.
Well, that sucks. I said, how does sex therapy with couples work?
Oh, well, it's a lot of it is just encouraging couples to have conversations about what they want, or about getting on the same page when it comes to sex. Just because a lot of times they'll come to me and they're either enough, or actually that's usually the complaint. They believe they're not. having sex enough, or their sex life isn't where they want it to be. There's a lot that goes into that as far as when you're in a relationship. It's not just about sex, and that can kind of lead to why you're not having sex as much, if that's something that's going on for you. But that's just a part of it.
Is it
one of the things I do with couples?
Is it mostly women or men that have that complaint? Because I feel like it would be women. You didn't hear me?
Yeah, no idea what you said.
I said, is it mostly women that have the not enough sex complaint?
Oh, is it mostly women?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this sound quality is horrible.
I said, is it mostly women that complain about not enough sex? Or men that complain about not enough sex?
Do you really think it's mostly women that are complaining about?
Hey,
I don't know.
From what I see on my Snapchat, which is, interacting with people all day, every day, it's always women complaining. Always.
Well, I think that I can see your point of view with more single women complaining of that.
No. I'm talking about in relationships.
I'm not so sure why, but in relationships, I feel as though it's more common among the males complaining of that. But it really, I think, is dependent on the couple themselves.
What do they say is the average amount a couple should be having?
The average amount a couple should be having sex. I think that if you are having sex at least once or twice a week, that you are in a good spot in your relationship. Sometimes, I think that people have sex more or they have sex less because their life it doesn't work for them. And, or maybe they just have a lot of free time and they're having sex all the time, and that's great. But it just, I think, depends.
I think I've seen couples that have been together for years and years. And I think if you've been with somebody, for an extended amount of time and you're still having sex 2-3 times a week with them, you're doing pretty fucking good. Like, I get so bored with people. I'd be like, I'd rather get rid of you and find somebody else and have sex with you once or twice a week. But if you're married and doing the long-term bullshit thing, I think 2 to 3 times a week is a lot. No? Yes. Can't hear me? Can't hear a fucking thing I'm saying?
No, I can hear you. I just don't know. That's your opinion. I don't know what to tell you.
It is my opinion. I mean, I've been in relationships. I know how that shit goes. But me personally, if I'm in a relationship, I'm getting a nut every day. Every day. I just am. Either in your mouth or in something else. But I am. And once that stops, so does the relationship. Goodbye. But hey, what do I know? Hey, let's run down this rabbit hole of my co-host here who likes.
Oh God.
I guess likes is a strong word. But thinks it would be okay to be raped by a complete stranger if they had a good body and a sexy face. Can we explore that a little bit?
So, I thought that was so funny.
But she was serious.
Okay, so I just first of all, the statistics of stranger rape, that is the lowest statistic of rapes that occur. So the likelihood of that occurring, the likelihood of you being raped by a stranger, first of all, is pretty low. And then the likelihood of you being raped by a good-looking stranger, because in your ideal world, you would have a choice over this. I don't think that.
She just ruined your whole fucking fantasy.
I'm not saying I want this to happen.
I didn't say that.
I'm just saying, if it ever did, I might be okay with it. That is what I said.
I feel as though this goes into like, you know, a little bit of like heavy duty masochism or something. I don't know what to tell you there.
I mean, yeah. I have masochist tattooed on me, so...
What did you say?
I said I have masochist tattooed on me.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
She does.
Wow.
Little freak ass bitch. Fuck, what was I about to say? Fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, so you're a relationship therapist, yeah? Can you hear me?
What? What did you say?
You're a relationship therapist? Is that correct? Can you hear me now?
Are you talking to me?
I can't.
Can you hear me?
I didn't hear a word of that. Okay, so can you repeat that?
You're a relationship therapist?
Yes.
How often do you get just boyfriend and girlfriend coming in for therapy?
Never. I can't say hard. No.
I know a lot of people that have done that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that go to like premarital counseling or whatever.
Oh, I feel like that's different.
No, I'm not talking about premarital. I'm talking about...
I don't know.
So I know a lot of couples that have gone to couples therapy, I guess they call it, that aren't married.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to make their boyfriend-girlfriend situation work out. And every time one of my idiot friends tells me this shit, I'm like, what are you wasting your fucking money for? Like, if you're in counseling, you're not even married, you're in counseling. Like, move on with your fucking life. Like, what are you doing? So I was curious if you got a lot of, like, boyfriend-girlfriend that came in for, like, therapy. But I think you said no.
I have personally not had that. And I specialize in couples, so I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I've never had myself a client that was boyfriend and girlfriend, and not premarital. But I imagine that if they are boyfriend and girlfriend and they're going, you know, to therapy, they are either pretty committed to one another, or they're just pretty, you know,
committed to wasting
invested
time.
In that. I'm sorry?
Pretty committed to wasting their own time.
I don't know what you're saying.
It's okay. It was funny. Just laugh.
Well, yeah, okay.
I said they're committed to wasting their own time. She cannot hear us.
Oh, I can hear yes or daddy, sir. I can't hear you.
Oh, guess who's doing all the reading tonight?
Oh my god.
Yes.
See, I told you, you're hard to hear tonight. Like, I can barely hear him too.
Yeah, it's like weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Producer man, fix it.
I think it's some crooked internet.
All right, cock monster. I want you to read the last thing that I put into the chat.
The very last thing?
The very last thing, because this is actually from a friend of mine. And I'll give my opinion at the end, but she wants to hear. I'll have to give some background after you read it, but go ahead.
Okay, so it says, can someone get PTSD from a relationship? And if so, how do they move past it?
Let me give you a little bit of background on this. This is a longtime friend of mine. She is talking about basically her high school sweetheart. They dated until like her early 20s, early to mid 20s. And apparently she thinks that he has ruined her possibility at a healthy relationship. Mind you, she's in her late 30s at this point. So have at it.
Have at it. I would not say that you can get PTSD specifically from a past relationship. I think that, I mean, the term PTSD in itself, no, probably not. That's an actual diagnosis that I don't think that that's something you're probably experiencing. But in terms of like being emotionally like, scarred or unwilling to like trust again or engage in another relationship or things like that, I feel like, yes, that can happen. It can be really hard to like want to open up again or like, be with
You don't want to
anybody.
be like vulnerable.
Exactly.
So she's just being a pussy, basically.
She, I mean, it just depends on what the experience is. I feel like that's not enough like background for me to like really like be able to tell you yes or no. But I feel as though you probably should go to therapy.
Oh, she done did that. She done did the therapy. But I personally think that, well, I mean, we're talking 15 years later. Like, at some point, you just gotta accept whatever and move on. I think you gotta accept whatever and move on with your life. And that's the advice that I would give her.
The breakup was 15 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I would say that therapy would be a good option for that.
I mean, to be quite honest, she has serious daddy issues. Not the good kind. Not the good kind. She got the opposite effect of daddy issues. And I think that's probably more so where her issues stem from, but she seems to think that it stems from this. And I just think she's probably wrong or needs to move on. But I'm not a doctor, so what do I know?
Well, a lot of questions that I got, I don't know the questions you got, but I got a lot of questions about daddy issues, like where, like why it stems into like being poor or whatever.
Well, let's talk about that.
Our relationships with our parents are so important, and I know that sounds really clinical, but that's a reality. And so we actually form attachments to our parents within the first like 6 weeks of living and the first 6 months of living. And those like attachments that we have kind of set the tone for our relationships and like how close we get to people later in life. And so when we talk about like daddy issues, like if you think about it, like with a lot of like men and women, but women, it's your relationship with your father is the first relationship you have with a man. And that's how you learn love is with a man if you're a woman, and then, or, the opposite. But I don't know. I think that kind of explains a little bit. It can be a little bit more complicated than that, just depending on people's individual situations, but it all comes down to attachment to our parents. And that really impacts kind of how we relate to other people.
Here's something I think a lot of people would like to know. What are the differences? I don't even know how to word this. Let's say you have a woman, same woman, she's got daddy issues and acts one way. Same woman, completely different life, has mommy issues, acts a different way. What are the different effects, or is it the same effect, more so?
I cannot imagine there being a different effect just because it's a mommy or a daddy issue. I really think those are your primary caregivers in life. And they're supposed to be like the people that protect you or, teach you how to be safe in the world. And then if those relationships are not as healthy as they should be, especially when you're young, when you're little, it really can set the tone for feeling as though relationships with other people or being out in the world is generally just feeling unsafe, and that I would not be able to hold a steady relationship or like be able to function happily if the love that I learned was not, modeled well for me. It's not that you can't, it's that it's just difficult. And you have to work through that.
So what's the reasoning behind people that have these issues that makes them hypersexual?
I don't know if there's a specific answer to that.
It's got to be some correlation there.
It really is complicated, and it gets again like super clinical. My answer, like, it's so funny because I actually am. This is a little bit of self-disclosure. So I'm seeing this guy who's also another therapist, and I told him that I was going to be on this podcast, and we were talking about some of the things, and it's so funny, like talking to like him, and like I can be like, oh yeah, it's these things, but like when you're talking to a non-therapist, it's like, oh, it's really complicated. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how to explain.
It's my understanding that therapists are the most fucked up people in the world, though.
I personally don't think I'm very fucked up. I think we all
Okay, I was about to pay you a compliment. I was about to be like, I bet you guys have some fire-ass sex, but I guess not.
Oh my God.
I've had therapists message me and be like, I've gotten off while my clients are sitting there talking under my desk without them knowing. Women therapists.
Wait, what? What?
I've had women therapists tell me that they have sat in their office while they have a client in there and gotten off while they're listening to these people that are paying them however much money an hour, like gotten off under their desk.
That makes me like really uncomfortable to think about that. I like cannot imagine.
I was like, where can I find a fucking therapist like that? I don't even want therapy, but shit. If you're getting off under the desk, I get off on the couch. We'll work something out.
Oh my gosh.
But that's just really expensive masturbation.
Okay, all right. Nobody said it was going to stay at masturbation. If I'm getting off too, shit. All right, awkward silence. That's great. All right, let's take another question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I like this one a lot because I'm actually going to bang this bitch. Could my obsession with being choked stem from my dad's suicide? He hung himself.
Oh my God.
So I read that.
I've never been so turned on in my life. When I read that, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to fuck this bitch.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That is so sad. I am so sorry that happened to you.
Oh, that was really insensitive of me. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry too. But I'm still gonna fuck the shit out of you. No? No? Nobody else feeling that?
Again, I'm probably just gonna, for that individual, I will say I really recommend seeing a professional on an individual basis. And
she's about to. I told you I'm gonna get my hands on her. I'm a professional.
Oh, okay. Well,
not a therapist.
Like a me kind of professional. I think that would be most beneficial because that was one of the more alarming ones I saw.
Oh, really? Was it?
Alarming. Yeah, I would say. Of like, that's a more serious question and something that I would probably respond to a little bit more empathetically. personally.
Forgive me, I feel insensitive.
A little. No.
Why don't you read one of yours?
What?
Talking to old stoner over here. Can you hear me?
I
What?
can hear you a little, but you're just so grumbled.
Yeah, you just sound so bad.
Cock
It
monster.
sounds really bad.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Read one of yours.
What? Read one of mine?
Yeah, motherfucker.
Oh, okay. Let me find a short one. Oh, how do you define a toxic relationship?
Oh, so I think that any relationship that you are not, I think that if you are not able to be yourself 100% in the relationship, if you are constantly worrying about pleasing the other person or wanting to change yourself for that person, or walking on eggshells to not upset that person, I would consider that toxic. If you are unhappy more of the time than you are happy, then I also would probably consider that toxic. Or if there's any, obviously, like any sort of abuse situation going on, then that's also toxic.
I think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Pretty
it's
straightforward.
good answer.
This one I found interesting, and if you can't hear me, let me know. I'll make her read it. Can you hear me?
I can hear you a little. Yeah, I just have to try to understand you. That's the problem.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts and experience relative to BDSM and trauma? Specifically, do you see BDSM as a form of therapy for some people with acute or complex trauma?
Okay. I read this and I had to like pause and like take a deep breath because that is a really stupid question. Like, I'm sorry, because do I consider them to be a complex trauma? Is exactly that, complex, and it's really serious, and it's not the same as like a sexual preference or enjoying the lifestyle of BDSM. I can see in some ways how it might feel like taking your power back, but it in no way replaces treatment. And it actually can be really re-traumatizing. I'm not sure. Maybe my reaction was a little bit harsh, but that was kind of shocking to read.
I've actually had, I would say probably several women. I actually used to know a woman that was raped, stranger rape, and after that she had a rape fantasy. But I've been messaged by several women that have said that they've been sexually assaulted and that they basically use their sexual preferences, I guess, as sort of therapy. Probably not healthy, the healthiest thing in the world, but I've definitely been told that by several women.
I feel as though it just depends. So when you're talking about like one instance of stranger rape, that's a little bit different from like a complex trauma or like a compounding trauma, where if you're experiencing like rape over a prolonged period of time, that can be very different. And then if you're seeking that out in different forms, that is something that would be another instance in which I would say you might want to go to therapy.
I feel like anybody that follows me is probably not a bad idea to go to therapy, but what do I know?
Yeah.
Pick another one.
Okay. I'm just like reading the shorter ones because I don't want to read the long ones.
Lazy bitch.
It says, if an ex lied to you the whole time, was what you had still real?
Oh. I think, okay, so I think that's really interesting because if an ex lied to you the whole time, like, sure, like what they experienced, maybe it wasn't real, but that doesn't really reflect on your experience. So your experience could have been very real because you thought that you were being told the truth, and like your feelings and your experiences and kind of like how you perceive the relationship, like obviously that's real, but their end, like it was less than honest, and that's outside of your control. If that makes sense. I'm not sure.
Well, that kind of leads to another question that we got was, can you ever get a fuckboy to commit?
No, move it along.
You're right.
Clinical opinion, move it along.
I feel like she gives really good advice.
I mean, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. I have one. This is another one that eventually I'll get my hands on her and I'll fuck her too. Why is calling someone I'm fucking daddy such a turn on? And no, I don't have daddy issues or want to fuck my dad.
I mean, that's a good question.
I think that, I mean, if you're saying that you don't have daddy issues or like want to fuck your dad in any capacity, and you're saying that you have a good relationship with your dad.
She didn't say that. She didn't say that though.
Exactly. So I feel like that's the difference too. Because oftentimes a lot of people that I talk to, they don't want to use the word daddy if they had a good relationship or if they currently have a good relationship with their father.
That's true.
That is true.
But yeah, and so I don't know if that's true for this person or not. I will say that if it's a turn on for you, it could be like, cultural, like a culturally guided thing that's kind of like really popular right now for our society today. But so like that could be it.
You're all welcome for that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you get turned on by the things you get turned on by. I can't answer that specifically to you.
Do you call men daddy?
Do I call what? Men daddy?
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I do not know.
Are you into BDSM?
Am I into BDSM? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
I have had experiences in that lifestyle, or have had people in therapy that are a part of that lifestyle, but that is not something that I would say that I am like into personally.
Okay. All right.
So there's something wrong with us.
No, there's nothing wrong with you.
Clearly there's something wrong with both of us, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, like, that was another question we got. Why?
Here we go. Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, like, why people would have a rape fantasy, like, at all.
Oh, I saw that. That is actually so common among women, and it's really common among women in positions of power. And I actually did some research on this a while ago, and it's really common for women who are like in positions of respect within their social circle or their place of work or things like that. And basically it's because of that like desire for someone to just like take charge. And I'm not saying that that's true for everyone, but in the research that I was looking at, a lot of it kind of goes back to that being like, turned on or like aroused by the idea of someone else kind of taking charge or being domineering in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I am a boss ass bitch.
Well, excuse me. Are you now? Let's see. This one was weird. Curious what kind of mental issue it is that I only want to sleep with married men and have no emotional connection to it at all.
I don't think that that's like a mental issue necessarily. It seems like more of like unresolved emotional issue in my mind. I would say that if you're intentionally like seeking out married men, you may want to look at that. I don't know why you would be doing that specifically. Unless you're really looking for like, I just want someone that is like in an open relationship so that I don't have to commit to them and that they get taken care of. I have known people who had that preference, and it just kind of stems back to like not being ready for their own commitment and probably needing to work through some unresolved emotional issues that they've got going on.
The people that I know that only sleep with married people, I would say they all, at least 90% of them, would tell you because they don't want any strings attached, basically.
Yeah.
They know you're not going to lose your mind and like want to date them or whatever, but that's a stupid assumption as far as I'm concerned, because it could turn into a fucking mess. I've seen it happen.
Oh.
So, yeah. Oh, let me leave my wife for you. What? Like, what? So that shit does happen, but I think that's a big part of the reasoning behind it, whether it's a guy or a girl, is that they think that if I'm sleeping with somebody that's married, I don't have to worry about any bullshit after the fact.
I think that if you're sleeping with someone that is in a monogamous marriage, that is very different than if you're sleeping with someone that is like in an open marriage.
Oh, yeah. Way different.
Yeah. Very different. And who you're seeking out, like I said, if you're seeking out men that are in monogamous marriages, and you're intentionally trying to make them cheaters, that's something totally different. We might want to look at that.
It's a power trip for the women that are doing that. That's why they do it.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's a power thing, but really I don't see the power behind it.
Like I said, there's some underlying emotional processes going on. If that's what you're doing.
Fuck are you laughing about? This is a very serious conversation.
Huh?
Yeah, you motherfucker.
This is just, I'm just taking everything in, that's all.
Hitting some chords with you?
Huh?
You gonna settle down and get married after this, or what?
I don't know what you're saying.
That's great. All right, read one more of yours.
Let me see. Did I read one of yours?
I don't give a shit. Read whatever you want.
Oh, there was one I wanted to read that was mine. Where is it? Oh, this one. Okay. So I've been dating a sex addict for the past 18 months. He's cheated on me many times, but he says he's really trying to change. So we have a future together. So he had therapy a few months ago and says he wasn't sleeping around, but is still scared of commitment. I guess my question is, how do you get a sex addict in a remission to settle down? Or what do you do to help him or show him that I'm there?
I'm gonna say this once, and then I'll probably say it again, just to kind of like take this home. You cannot change anybody.
Thank you.
You legitimately cannot show him that he can change for you. There's nothing you can do to change anybody. They have to want to change, and even then, like,
even then, it's probably fake.
What is the question in this?
What can she do to like show him that they can like get through it and she's there for him?
Leave him.
Well, I mean, he is pursuing his own treatment. So the responsibility of his treatment is on his shoulders. There is nothing, I mean, beyond that, there's nothing that you can personally do other than like loving him, in order to, show him that you're supportive of him. But also just be aware and maybe think through what that could look like if it ends up disappointing. Just keeping in mind that a person has to want to change if they're going to change. We cannot, we can't prove to them that we're the ones that they want to settle down with. They have to want that.
Yep.
I have one. Do you have one?
Go ahead.
Okay. It says, is it healthy to keep a happy home, no arguing with two incomes, just to live a secret life of your fuckboy? So the kid has the most love and support they can have in their home? Or is it healthier for the kid to have two separate homes but single living like incomes?
What?
Like, basically, should you stay in a marriage that you don't want to be in for the kids? Basically, is what it is, from what I understand.
Probably.
I was so confused by this question. So if you're telling me, like, are you telling me that you guys are like legally married and you're both like having sex with other people and you're just together for your kid? I mean, that sounds like, I mean, if it's working for you, I guess that's fine as long as you're communicating about it and you're not fighting, and that if that's what's working, that can be fine. But if it's like one of you is doing these things and the other one thinks that the marriage is great, you might want to look at that. I don't know. I feel as though I need more information on that one, in order to tell you specifically if that's, something that's good for you or not. As far as what's healthier, I mean, I can't tell you what's going to be healthier for you or your family if I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't know you.
Yeah.
It sounded to me, it sounded like, do I put my mental well-being before my child's, basically, or do I put my child's first?
Well, what I always tell parents is that you cannot love your child well unless you're loving yourself. So that's like really important. And if your sexual health is a part of that, then okay, it can be. You have to be able to be there for your child regardless. So I think that really plays a role in it. Not to say that you don't love your kid. Of course you love your kid, or else you wouldn't ask that question.
I feel like you're just like a better version of yourself when you're happier.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You're a better version of yourself when you're happier. And obviously, like, you're going to be better for your kid if you're happier.
Totally.
Well, I think that any married couple that has kids to save their marriage deserves to stay in that marriage till the kid is over 18. How about that?
Oh, yeah. Don't ever have a kid to save your marriage.
I done seen that. It doesn't work. It makes it worse.
Yeah, don't ever do that.
Actually, statistics show that marital satisfaction decreases once you have children.
Yeah, bet.
That's just the natural flow of having children. So you do want to make sure that you are in a pretty strong place when you decide to have kids, because the satisfaction will decline for a time. And if it's already low, then that can be pretty detrimental to a relationship.
Detrimental?
Well, it adds stress.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, we are pretty much out of time. That was very, very interesting. Hopefully Cock Monster learned some things today. She looked like she did.
No, I don't.
Yeah, whatever, fuck you. Um, Depending on how this went, we'd love to have you on again. unless people tell us it sucked, then we won't. But I enjoyed it. We didn't get through a fraction of the amount of questions that we got, but we only have an hour, so.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Sorry you couldn't hear me.
Yeah. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties. Whoops.
No worries. We appreciate it, though. And I guess if you want to shout out like any of your social media, I don't know if you want to do that or not. You're welcome to.
Oh, no, I think
I would not do that. That's very smart.
Probably smart. I had to offer.
well,
All right. Hopefully, we won't be gone for more than 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll be back in earlier mid March. Have at it,
okay.
Cock Monster.
Okay. Sweet dreams, nighty night. Dream of that pussy being tight.
And remember, no matter how deep your daddy issues are, how fucked up you are in your head, always be a good girl for daddy. Bye.